viewers at home, my name is Bukola Oriola. This is Imprisoned Show, a show set out to educate the public about human trafficking. Human trafficking is the modern day slavery, and more than 2 million people are being trafficked around the world every year, according to the United Nations report. And in every country, there is human trafficking going on. So there is no country immune to human trafficking. You are welcome to the show. Today we have two important people in our community here. We have the Anoka County Attorney, Tony Palumbo. You're welcome, sir. And we also have the Anoka County Sheriff, James Stuart. You're also welcome, sir. Thank you for coming to the show today to educate us more about what Anoka County is doing as a county, and also in collaboration with the state and federal government about human trafficking.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Welcome. For the Anoka County Attorney, how long have you been in the system working on the law?
Oh, well, I started in 1977 doing juvenile prosecutions, and then after that I did child abuse prosecutions, and then I did other types of criminal prosecutions throughout my career, and I've worked in all areas of the county attorney's office, and not only in prosecutions, but in working in the family law areas, doing some mental commitments, also working in the civil area, which advises county departments and defends the county or represents the county in state and federal courts. So I was elected last year, exactly 1 year ago today, the county attorney, and I was assumed office on January 3rd of this year, 2011. So I'm very familiar with what has gone on with the county attorney's office for the last now 34 years.
Well, thank you. And what measures is the county putting in place to fight sex slavery?
Well, the county works certainly in cooperation with our partners in law enforcement at the federal level. We frequently share information on cases that we have in common. We do know, however, that the federal government has more resources than we do, and generally if there is something common between us, usually it's much larger than just Anoka County. So we would certainly work with the federal government to make sure we will do our part to contribute whatever we can to the furtherance of any prosecution there.
Okay, for Officer James, would you say there is human trafficking in Anoka County, and why is there?
I think, as you mentioned earlier, it does exist everywhere, including Anoka County. And why is there human trafficking in Anoka County would be the same thing as it is for all over the world. And it is an international problem. And it really comes down to, fundamentally, I think, greed. You know, there's people that put their own best interest or their own wants above what's best for other people. When they think only about themselves, they start thinking about the profitability, and ultimately they're going to be willing to tap into an endless supply of victims, and ultimately they see the humans as just another commodity that can be reused over and over, and feeding that source of revenue and feeding their greed, and they're not caring about that person. Within Anoka County, I think some other key instrument or key portions of that are the easy recruitment, meaning these bottom feeders that take advantage of other people have a lot of opportunity. They can go to the area malls, they can go to skate parks, they can hit the bus stops or other parks. And in this modern day that we live in, social media is a huge area where they also go and look for more victims, whether it's on Facebook or some other area like that. And the youth don't always realize, in the case of youth, but people in general even, don't always realize that the person they're talking to or communicating with and establishing a friendship really isn't a friendship. And more often than not, it's very routine that both of our offices see these reports come through where people have been victimized by someone who lured them out of their house or out of their safe zone to go meet and ultimately end up in a situation they didn't want to. some of the other contributors to why there's human trafficking in Anoka County, especially in the youth arena, would fall under it being an unhappy home life. They can be the runaway juveniles. There might be money issues at home. And oftentimes these predators will use alcohol, drugs, or violence or threat of violence in order to get them to do what they want to do as well. And so there's a lot of factors that go into the big picture, but it definitely exists, and we want to continue to find more partners to help us address it.
Thank you, sir. And as a federal offense, sir, what is Anoka County doing to join the federal government to, fight at the grassroots level?
Well, I think what we do is when I say we partner with them, we exchange information that we have. Many times, traffickers will engage in other types of crimes. They will engage in credit card theft. They will engage in robberies, anything to support the criminal network. And we, at the local level, would wind up having to deal with those types of crimes. And when we do get information, for example, a stolen credit card that someone is using turns out to be used by a trafficker, we will get that information to the federal government so that they are aware they may be working on an investigation involving this individual. So oftentimes we don't come upon the trafficking itself. Okay. We come upon crimes that are associated with the trafficking. As Sheriff Stuart said, these people are greedy, and they're not going to stop at just exploiting people. They're going to try and steal, and they're trying to do anything they can to obtain money. And when we see those types of crimes, we certainly want to forward that information to the federal government to see if that can be helpful in their cases when they're prosecuting the trafficking, certainly across state lines and across national lines.
Okay, do you experience such at the family court in the case of domestic abuse turning out to be, human trafficking when you look at the larger picture?
We are not hearing a lot of allegations specifically about human trafficking and domestic abuse. It is generally one spouse or intimate partners very upset with each other. If we are hearing, as we have heard in some prostitution cases, especially with juveniles, that they're being kept under threat of fear by someone, and we have charged them with prostitution or solicitation of prostitution, especially with a minor, or engaging in profits relating to a minor. But in the domestic abuse court, certainly in Anoka County, that may ring. In other counties, they may have a different experience, but in Anoka County, we are not hearing, as far as I'm aware, such an overabundance that would cause us to begin to conduct wide-scale investigations based on those allegations. Now, if those allegations come up and someone is a victim of a domestic abuse situation, they certainly should tell a probation officer, tell the county attorney, the city attorney, whomever the police officer investigating, who's ever in authority, to let them know that if they are indeed being kept, held hostage, if you will, because of labor trafficking or sex trafficking, that information needs to get out, and we will act on it, and we will act accordingly.
Okay, what will your word be or message for those kind of victims who are not speaking as a result of fear? Because in some other foreign countries, especially, people are not too friendly with the police, or they don't see the police as their friend. And when they get to a place like the United States, they don't even know that they can call the police, or the police is their friend. They can open up to the police. Do you have a word for this kind of people to be able to open up more?
I do. The police here in America, certainly in Anoka County, are fine, respectable, caring individuals. And if they come across information that an individual is being trafficked, I can almost guarantee they will pass that information along. They, at that point, certainly will not make judgments about people. they will want to get that information and get it passed along to the prosecutor, to the sheriff's office, to whomever can step in and begin to make a difference. So I would tell your watchers, your listeners to this program, that if you are in a situation where you feel you are being trafficked, either sex or labor, there are hotlines to call. There are police departments wherever you are living, or the sheriff's office, and make sure that you tell them that indeed you have been kept against your will and forced to do these things, and you are ready to break free of that, and you need to break free, and you need their help. And most police officers I've ever encountered, when asked for help, will respond. Isn't that correct, Sheriff?
Absolutely correct.
I can tell your listeners about some hotline numbers,
Okay,
if you'd
please
like
do.
me to.
Yes.
There is a hotline. It's a 1-800. It's 1-888-373-7888. I will repeat that. 1-888-373-7888. And that is a toll-free number. And if you feel you are in a situation where you are being trafficked, either for labor or sex, please pick up the phone and call that hotline. That hotline is answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So people will be there to get the information to you. If you have access to a computer, there are a couple of websites. There are many websites, actually, but I will give you a couple here. One is called the Polaris Project. That is spelled P-O-L-A-R-I-S Project, Project.org. And that is a compilation of sites that can help people who are in a trafficking situation. In addition, a local number is an organization called Breaking Free in St. Paul. Their phone number is 651-645-6557. I'll repeat that. 651-645-6557. And they are on the internet at one word, breakingfree.net. BREAKINGFREE.net. They are a resource to help people who need to reach out to someone to learn exactly what help is available. And I will guarantee you, if you talk to a police officer and you describe the situation that you are in, I guarantee a police officer, certainly in Anoka County, is going to want to help you and will help you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Officer James, what is being done in Anoka County to combat human trafficking?
Within Anoka County, I think one of the critical parts is awareness and expanding those partnerships, getting everyone to understand that we all have an obligation to be a part of the fix. And within the law enforcement arena, we conduct training. We provide like safety camps for youth, and we provide some ongoing training to our school resource officers that work in the school, maybe behaviors to watch for, activities to be aware of, and things to be real cognizant of as they're doing their jobs, as well as focused training for our investigators, knowing how to pursue the investigations, the frontline officers that are on the street when they're out there taking the calls and dealing with those kind of things. But the partnerships that we really want to keep pushing out further would be in those community partnerships, whether it's the schools, religious organizations. There's a lot of different community organizations out there that really can be playing critical roles in helping us push out this information, sharing the data, and being the extra eyes and ears. If they're suspicious at all, call. As Mr. Palumbo indicated, we need people to be willing to step out of that comfort zone, whether it's the person caught up in it and saying, I need help, or whether it's the person next door who says, I'm just a little suspicious. More often than not, somebody thought they were aware of something and didn't act on it. And we just need everyone to be a partner at the table and recognize that they do play a role, that there is something that they can do to make a difference and ultimately make that difference. And parents play a very critical role, as you indicated. Half of our victims are minors. We need the parents to speak to their kids, to be aware of what to watch for. I made reference to the social networking sites earlier. There's a lot of these these people who want to victimize the children, and will tell them whatever they want to hear on Facebook. And hopefully, I think parents are getting better at educating their children on don't put any personal information out there. You know, don't ever leave the house. Don't go meet somebody. And if they tell you, if you don't go to school with them, my kids are told if you don't know them personally outside of the internet, then you don't know them at all. Don't interact with them. And it's really a matter of establishing those safety guidelines. The parents need to have those communication. They need to monitor their online activity of the kids, and they need to, quite honestly, be willing to report curfew violations and take a real proactive role in making sure that their kids or other kids aren't caught up in something that's going to spiral out of control a lot faster than they can reel it back in.
Talking about social network, you know, there are so many social networking websites apart from Facebook. Facebook seems to be the most popular among them all. Apart from Facebook, is there any particular one too that you think kids should be aware of, or parents, or are you just taking every social network website in general?
I think in general, you need to be very aware of what the kids are doing, who they're interacting with, monitor the friends list. If you have a child who is on Facebook or any and I don't mean to single them out because it is across the board. We've had a lot of crimes that have been committed through Craigslist, and the list goes on and on. If there's a social media site, then there is somebody who is watching that site to try and find victims. They will look wherever the potential victims are, and that's how they're wired. And that's when they only care about themselves. They're just going to go to the target-rich environment or the areas where they're going to find victims. And any social media site is a potential opportunity for that. Even chat lines. There's the phone chat lines are real popular again, and those are dangerous things for not even just the kids, but anyone to get caught up in and agree to meet someone or be involved with someone that they don't know on a personal level. And we just really want to push out the message to communicate with each other, communicate with your family. If you don't think the neighbor kids are getting the safety talk at home, then maybe take those few minutes and make sure they're getting it somewhere. We all play a part in trying to make a difference in keeping the rest of the community safe.
Okay, the mail order bride and then the dating websites, are they part of this, or those you're going to isolate? Can someone also become a victim through the, dating websites? Because there are dating websites where people meet for relationship and all that. And since once something good has been said, there is always evil coming in behind the door to come and do its own. So will you tell people to be aware of even dating sites?
Absolutely. Whether it's a dating site, any social media really, anytime you're going to meet someone that you don't know, do it in a safe way. Make sure people know where you are, do it in a public arena. And the dating sites are another classic example that anyone can tell you anything they want over the internet, and just be very careful to be guarded in what you believe and to be guarded in the personal information that you would give out as to how somebody could find you. Because we're just trying to safeguard that people don't set themselves up to become victims, because the unfortunate reality is there's a lot of people out there who, because they're focused on greed or their own selfish desires, they just don't care about other people enough to do the right thing.
And to follow up with the sheriff, trafficking operates because of fear of harm to oneself, fear of harm to a loved one. And one of the best ways to combat that fear is education and knowledge. And once we begin to educate those people who may become victims, as the sheriff has alluded to, or people who are in the situation now, that they are resources out there, you begin to take away that trafficker's hold or grip of fear over you. So, knowledge is power. It is also power to be able to stop the fear and be able to get out and truly break free from such a situation.
Thank you, sir. Labor trafficking seems to be hard to identify. So what do you think can be done to help victims of labor trafficking in terms of being able to identify them, to give them help? Because if we don't identify them, there's no way they can get help.
Well, many times the victims of labor trafficking usually have English as a second language. Many times, not all times, but many times. And so being able to get the information out to the authorities in several different languages that people receive the information, that being held as what they call debt bondage under the law is not right, it's not lawful. There will people that will do something about that. Labor trafficking is more difficult to detect when it's in a home setting, as you're well aware. It could happen between spouses, a husband and a wife, where a husband is forcing the wife to work and taking all the money. Those are much more difficult to detect because that generally is something, unless that spouse who's being trafficked comes forward, it would be very difficult for the authorities to find out. So once again, those in that kinds of situations, if they can understand that it's wrong, understand that there are resources out there to help them, please come forward. Those that deal with large groups of people who are being trafficked, especially those companies that hire them, may be put on notice that indeed there may be some labor trafficking going on. And those companies or those individuals that hire groups of people that have their suspicions about that certainly should let the authorities know that perhaps something like this is going on. I can't think of any reputable person here that would tolerate a form of slavery here in today's America. And that's what labor trafficking is, holding someone in a form of slavery.
Yes, and for those victims who have been arrested as prostitutes but were victims of sex slavery, what is the court doing to remove felony from their record in order to move on with their life and be better again?
Well, I can speak for juveniles, and this oftentimes is the fear that traffickers will put upon generally young girls, but sometimes boys also, is that they will be prosecuted if they ever come forward and told the police. In Minnesota this year we have passed a law that presumes that such children are victims and not criminals of prostitution. So I want to tell your listeners and your viewers of this particular program that if they're a juvenile and in a situation and they're being told that they're going to be prosecuted, that is not the case. Okay. Adult victims of this who are also being trafficked at that point, I know from a county attorney's or a prosecutor's perspective, if we were to find out that someone is being forced against their will to participate in illegal acts, be it labor or sex trafficking, it is a defense under the law that if you are forced because of imminent bodily harm to commit a crime, you may have a defense to that. So those that have some prostitution backgrounds, that if indeed they have been exploited and trafficked, the courts and the prosecutors have some ability to help them clean up their record in the past if they have done it, or to make sure that they are not prosecuted at this time if their trafficker is then apprehended and brought to court.
Okay. And for Officer James, how is the Anoka Sheriff's Office investigating human trafficking and juvenile prostitution crimes?
Well, first there's a reactive component in which we learn about the crimes. Those may come in the form of, we might stumble onto something in the course of another investigation. We learn about something. Sometimes it'll come through Child Protection Service report. And deputies and officers will also be contacted routinely, and so they'll go out and deal with that. We also have a proactive component where we're actively looking for this crime. And we have sometimes a confidential informant will make us aware of a situation, and other times we also have investigators who do plainclothes undercover stings out in the community, and they also do online searches. Some people have seen on TV shows from time to time, and they're very successful at that, and it's one of those concerns that we have, because it is a much, much larger problem than I think most people are aware of, and that most people would prefer to think that it actually exists. Unfortunately, resources are, as with everything, resources are limited, but we try to be very proactive in pursuing these situations when we can, and we've had some real good success stories with that in the past. Another key component of is our criminal investigative division. We have detectives, as I said, they're trained specifically to work through this, to focus on certain ways to interview victims and witnesses to find out the bigger picture, because we recognize, as you said, it's sometimes difficult for people to express themselves or to articulate the situation that they're in, maybe out of fear, maybe out of fear of even law enforcement. We try to make sure they understand we're the good guys, we want to help, we're here to help, and they're able to look for some of those indicators that maybe there's something more to this picture. And so through that process, they conduct the investigation, and if there's something more there, then they start looking for, you know, the subpoenas or the search warrants, and ultimately the arrest. And as we move forward, that's always the goal, is to make sure that the people who are being victimized are helped by our processes. We also have a crime victim advocate within our office, as the county attorney does as well. There's advocates that we want to make available to continue to help people. Ultimately, that's what we're all here for. But after we make those arrests of the bad guys, then our team is more than happy to put them into jail, and we're very happy then to pass them off to my partner here and have them prosecuted and maintained within the system.
Okay.
Absolutely.
On the last note, what message do you have for victims, especially because they are the ones living in fear and don't know what to do? Some don't even know that they are victims of human trafficking.
I think our message would be clear. When in doubt, you know, we all have that extra sense. If there's something that just doesn't feel right about the situation you're in, if you're not sure, call 911. Get help. We want to be the help. We want to be there to make it better, and we want to be there to be a resource to help them, as the term keeps coming up, and it's a perfect example. It's a great organization, Breaking Free, and it's a great process for the people that are caught up in this type of system too. Breaking Free is an option. We want to be there to help with that process, and we will be there as partners to unite and really help the community move forward with this process. But we really do need everyone. If it's suspicious, call. If it's a bad situation you're in, call. Help us, you know, be a part of the fix, and we want to be there to help them.
Thank you so much. As you have heard it all, call 911. And there is the 188 number. It is not 100, it is 1888. And we are going to put the number on the screen so that everyone who is suspicious of any act, or anyone who thinks he or she is going through an experience that doesn't feel right, should call for help. There is help available. Thank you.
The news. In the national news, a man accused of sex trafficking in Virginia has been arrested. He's accused of running an underground prostitution business involving underage female runaways. He faces a mandatory minimum of 10 years and a maximum of life in prison if convicted. He also allegedly knew another man in running a juvenile prostitution business by recruiting clients and providing security at the appointments, which included carrying a machete. He is accused of threatening the juveniles and physically assaulting them if they did not want to have sex with the clients. A Sacramento, California couple faces charges of using money, drugs, and violence to keep control of 4 teenage prostitutes by offering the girls a 50% share of the $100 per hour men paid for sex with them, as well as food, shelter, and a supply of drugs. But the girls received none of the cash, were forced to stay, and some were beaten. One of the girls was a 16-year-old runaway with a criminal record. Another had her mother's permission to be with the couple, though the parent told police she had no idea her daughter was a prostitute. A third teen, who was 18, allegedly had her jaw broken by the couple for not managing the other girls well. A federal judge sentenced a Portland pimp to 20 years in prison for his role in pushing a 13-year-old Salem runaway into prostitution. He met his young victim, now 15, when she ran away from her Salem home in October 2009 and made her way to Portland with a friend. There, he put the girls up in a motel and bought them clothes, condoms, and high-heeled shoes. He nicknamed his victim Diamond and advertised her as an escort in Exotic magazine, according to the court records. In the United Arab Emirates, 5 men have been jailed for 5 years each for conspiring with a travel agent in their homeland, forcing a woman into prostitution in Dubai. The Dubai court of first instance convicted the 5 Bangladeshi men of forming a group for human trafficking and selling a 21-year-old Bangladeshi woman to a police informant to work as a prostitute. Prosecutors said the accused conspired with a travel agent in Bangladesh and flew in the woman to work as a tailor in Dubai. A Vancouver man is charged with trafficking girls as young as 14 for the purpose of forcing them into prostitution. He is charged with 4 counts of trafficking in persons under the age of 18 and 4 counts of living off the avails of a juvenile while using, threatening to use, or attempting to use violence. When he was first arrested, the 2 underage females were found in the house, and at that time he was charged with 2 counts of living off the avails of prostitution of a juvenile. Trafficking of children in Africa to be used as human blood rituals is a common occurrence in the UK, where reportedly at least 400 African children over a period of just 4 years have been caught up in this cultural practice. The means by which these children are brought into the UK is unknown to British authorities, but the reason why they are being smuggled is clear and disturbing. Anti-trafficking authorities point to the practice of juju. The West African religion uses a form of witchcraft through the use of objects imbued with supernatural powers, and it is believed that this is the source of the need of children. A trafficker can belong to any class or social group of people.
Hello kids at home. My name is Jaden Sargent, and I am taking a stand against human trafficking. I would like you to take a stand with me by making or drawing a flag of your country and sending it in with a parent or guardian's approval. Thank you and good night.
This is the Advocate Excellence Award segment, and the advocate for today's award is Lori Jamshide. She works with the Anoka County and she is a public health nurse. I nominated Lori because Lori was the one who rescued my son and I 3 years ago and helped us to regain our freedom and move on with our lives. And since then, we have been getting help and we have been doing fine. My son, who used to be very resentful towards people, now relates to people, is in school, is doing fine. I'm so grateful to Lori for what she did. Lori, I hope that this award will encourage you to continue to help other victims of human trafficking or domestic abuse that you may encounter doing your job. Thank you so much. God bless you, and we love you here.
Come with me to a faraway place. I'll mend all your fears and dry all your tears. I'll take you along a winding path. It will take us to somewhere we'll never turn back. You'll heal from the pain that's been laid upon you. Just feel the sun that's trying to shine through. Don't give up now. Life will get better. Just take my hand and you'll understand that you're not alone, and I'm here by your side. You can hold on to me and I'll help you break free. Let's tear through this wall. It's been black in you. There's a brand new side that's waiting just for you. You've got what it takes, so find the strength that's inside of you and let it carry you through. So come with me to a faraway place. I'll mend all your fears and dry all your tears. It's not your fault. Thank you.
You can see the attorney and the sheriff have given you more than enough information to use. So please, if you encounter anyone who might be a victim of human trafficking, call the number. If you think you might be a victim, there is help available. Please call the number. They are out there waiting for your call so that they can give you help. There is help available. Please, I'm begging you victims out there, fight your fears and come out for help. Help is available. Thank you all for watching today. We hope to see you next time. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Said Ramsey, and she said, oh, that's where my tormentor is from. That's where I was held captive. And I said, no, I said Ramsey. And she said, yeah, Ramsey. So it took me off guard. I said, you were held captive in Ramsey? Yeah. So we started talking, and she started telling me her story. And I was literally in disbelief. She started telling me a story about human trafficking and how she got here, how she escaped, the whole thing. And I said, Bukola, people need to hear this story. And she said, well, I have a book. And she's just so nonchalant about it, but I think she's told her story so many times that it's not a big thing, seemingly, to her, but I know it is. And I think a lot of us need to be knocked off of our socks once in a while and hear what's going on. So I invited Bukola to speak at many different things, and this is one of them, and I'll let her tell her story, but Bukola.
Thank you. It's just laying under domestic abuse, and that's why when many victims are found, what they think was wrong will be domestic abuse. Meanwhile, that person is a victim of human trafficking. And no country of the world is immune to human trafficking. United States is the land of freedom. There are many people held hostage in this country. And Even though it is the land of freedom and the most powerful country in the world, today many United States citizens are victims of human trafficking. It is not only immigrants that are victims here. There are citizens of this country that are victims either within the U.S. or outside the U.S. And for you to understand the scope, it's something that you really need to look beneath the surface to understand. People don't know. People don't understand what is wrong. For me, I passed through doctors, but they couldn't rescue me because they didn't know that something was wrong. I passed through many people. There were people I begged for food, but didn't know that something was wrong because I suffered isolation for 2 years, and I suffered through pregnancy such that I couldn't eat whatever I was craving as a pregnant woman. For those of you who are mothers here, you know what it means for a pregnant woman to be craving. And you could imagine craving and not getting what you are craving, even up to the point of bananas. How much is banana a pound in 2006? Even now, banana is not $1 a pound yet. It's still in cents. But that is one of the agony that I suffered as a victim of human trafficking. And anybody can become a victim regardless of your career, regardless of your background, regardless of your tradition. Because I was a journalist, and I wasn't just any kind of journalist, I was an award-winning journalist. If you go onto Google and Google my first and my last name, you will still see some of my journalism reports, and you will still find out some of the awards that I won as a journalist in Nigeria. Yet, I became a victim of human trafficking. Somebody who is serving as the watchdog, and I got caught up as a victim. And that's why it's so important to me to keep talking about my story. Many victims live in fear. The reason victims don't come out to speak is fear. Many don't even know that they could call the police. For me, I didn't know I could call the police because I was, so to speak, an illegal immigrant. Because I didn't have status, I had run out of status, and it's the same for so many victims. And those who even are citizens are living in fear because they had been controlled by somebody and be put in perpetual fear, such that you can't even call out for help. You think if you call, you will go to jail. And unfortunately, many victims are in jail and held captive as criminals for the crime committed against them. And that's why the police need to do a lot more work. You see, when police come out, it's not easy to understand what is really going on. But if they take the time to read the body language, they will know that something is wrong. And only those people who know this are those who are working with victims. Because if you put 1 million victims down at different times talking to them, you will find that they have something in common. And that's how you'll be able to identify that somebody is a victim of human trafficking. You don't have to be, the trafficker